wanted to switch gears a little bit. And you touched on this a little earlier. Just the ability to be able to kind of work with healthcare professionals and really empower them to do more and to really succeed in their roles. It sounds like that's something that you're really passionate about in the space. So I just wanted to ask, like, what really drives you in beta testing? What's that one thing that you always go back to? It's like, yeah, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm in the space doing what I do.
I think there's two kind of areas that I go back to. So I often go back to what is our mission? So like, why are we doing this? I tend to be very motivated by the why. And so that makes a big difference. And then the other piece is, for me, I am extremely passionate about, are we improving the caregiver experience? Are we making it better for those people that are working in hospitals? And are we improving things for patients? And so again and again, I go back to that space to say, are we doing it? And then are we doing it in a way that makes sure that we can scale it, we can continue to do it.
Mm-hmm. And it must be really rewarding. I'm sure there's been a couple tests where you've been like, we can see the impact and we can see where that feedback is coming through, right? Because you've built these kind of close relationships with the caregivers, with the practitioners. So, that must be a big boost for you as well, right?
It is. It's like hearing when things go incredibly well is lovely. Like that always feels great. But I would also say, like, the transparency and being able to know where something isn't quite right, like, or where we have opportunity, is so rewarding too, because it means that we've identified it and we can do something about it before it goes like it. We've been able to hear this and respond to it with a small number of people, so that those partners that we have, like those nurses that we're testing, are going to improve what happens for nurses all over the world.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the areas where, like, not that I celebrate when we hear where there's opportunity, but I think it is one of the best parts, is to be able to say, we identified it and we were able to improve this before this rolled out to, hundreds and hundreds of other places, hospitals, thousands of end users.
And the time it takes to get that back after, say, like post-launch, so you launch something, the time it takes to get back into the funnel is pretty ridiculous. When you have these programs, it's kind of like embedded. That feedback goes directly to the people that can make the decision before it goes out. If it has to go through support and, anything on the customer service side and eventually work its way back and then have to get into development, we're talking months after launch to get any of those changes made.
But we're really lucky too, because many times when we're beta testing, not always, but many times we'll actually be on site. So we're in a hospital on a unit, and we're going to actually, like, I'll have the head of engineering, the head of product or the portfolio, whoever owns that product, will have the person who's the head of support for that. And they're actually there watching someone interact with it. And so it is like they're in the space while someone's using it. And when you have that direct contact, it just, the weight of it, and there's a new weight to it. It makes such a big difference.
It's an observation. So that those ethnographic studies are I love ethnographic studies. So when you get that observation, it's such an added context. We can hear stuff from customers inside, forums and posts, and like you being able to observe something, you might be able to explain something that they're doing that they don't even know that they're doing. So that huge context add.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that kind of ties into that is collaboration, seeing other, testers or customers, et cetera, coming in and collaborating, be able to say like, hey, I'm running into this issue here. And then someone can come in and say, we ran into the same thing in this, setting, different setting, it just adds that total context and really builds out the feedback in a way that you can't just say it's anecdotal anymore, right? You can't just say, well, that's just one person having this and it gets swept under the rug, being able to build that kind of body of feedback and, massive amount of context is incredible. And is that something that you've run into? I mean, it sounds like you're...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. It's and the context makes such a huge difference too. So many times you can kind of see, well, there's something in the data that isn't quite right, and it, but you don't know why. And so it really helps to get to why exactly is this happening so that we can make it right.
It's such you need a diverse set of data. This is I was just reading something earlier. Someone was talking about just collecting, say, qualitative data. There's
Yeah.
so much in the quantitative realm that helps with qualitative data. And same thing with when we talk about an attitude and behavior. Attitudes are things that people would say. So these are things that your testers
Yeah.
would say. And the behaviors are things that they're doing. And a lot of times they
Yeah.
can't necessarily report on those things that they're doing. So like this combination of, I think it's NN Group that really had this with Christian Rohr. He talked about this quadrant of qualitative and quantitative and attitudinal and behavioral data is like that makes up a wonderful landscape of the data that you can collect from users to kind of tell this story, to get that impact, to make a better experience for everybody.